Now we don't have to convince ourselves that blank space sounds better in Taylor's version. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Welcome back, Gaspers, to Gasp, the podcast for the gays, the girls, and especially the gay girls. Happy Pride, everyone. The best month of the year. Thank God it's here. I feel like we all need this in our lives right now. Taylor Swift announced huge news last week that she bought back her masters finally. And now for the first time in her entire monumental career, she owns all of her work. As exciting and game-changing as this is, if you read the letter, you know that the anticipated Taylor's version of Reputation is no more, and it will not happen. So on this episode, we're just going to digest this news together. I'm going to talk about what Taylor might do next and some of my possible theories. Is karma real? Is TS12 coming soon? I think yes. Will Taylor finally live out her sparkling summer? A Gaylor theory that we'll get into. Is the glitch over? Looks like the numbers are working out for it to possibly be over. And is Taylor lying? And Reputation will actually be released after all? We'll investigate. Also, I just realized I'm wearing black and rainbow, which is perfect because like Reputation's not happening, but the Vault tracks will be. And rainbow for Pride. Okay, so Pride is really important this year, you guys. If you are American, which I think like a little under 50% of y'all are, and honestly, around the world, we're facing just a very homophobic society right now. There's definitely a conservative movement happening. And this just happens. Like there's waves of progress. And right now we're in the wave of regression. But this is why it's really important for us to be very loud and very prideful this year. If you have a lot of privilege, like if you are white, if you are straight passing me, if you are in a straight presenting relationship, if you are straight, this is the time to be very vocal and like literally use yourself as a spokesperson for the community. We need to just be as outspoken as possible for a community, especially trans people, okay? Because conservatives like to separate trans people and gay people, okay? We need to make sure that people understand that we're all one community. And also we just need to remember that this is not like a party season. This isn't just like another party. Right now it just feels like a little bit more protest, but also queer joy is protest. You guys get all the things. And it's just so exciting that it's World Pride in DC. And so ironic because like Trump is fucking president. So it's just going to be a wild weekend for sure. I hope Doechii says something political. I'm sure she will. I also have a little announcement because I wanted to do something special for Pride for you guys. I'm doing a Pride bonus series. So that means that every single week I'm going to release a bonus episode along with my main episode. This is on Patreon. If you're not a subscriber yet, do subscribe because I release so much bonus content and you have access to my Pride giveaway. So first, let me talk about really quickly the Pride bonus series, and then we'll get into the main episode. But my Pride bonus series is that each week is going to be a specific Pride topic that I talk about on my Patreon. This week, I'm going to talk about my favorite gay facts. Next week, I'm going to talk about my favorite gay historical figures that were probably gay. The next week, I'm going to do my favorite gay songs and also Gaylor Song of the Month, obviously. And then the final week of Pride, I'm going to talk about my favorite benefits of being gay because there's many. So subscribe to my Patreon so you can get all of that bonus Pride content. And then also, I'm doing a Pride giveaway. So I made an entire Pride merch line that is in the link everywhere and in the description and in my bios and everything. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you get automatically put into my raffle. So I'm literally writing down all of my subscribers' names on pieces of paper, putting them in a bowl, and I'm drawing from that bowl every week. And that person who I draw will get a free piece of Pride merch and I will ship it to you for free. That's my paid subscribers. But listen, guys, listen. I've got a decent amount of subscribers, but it's not like I've got hundreds. So like you have a very high chance of getting a piece of merch. So it kind of makes financial sense to enter, if I'm being completely honest. So on my Patreon, you have Pride bonus series and a Pride giveaway. So check out all of that. And then also speaking of Patreon, I shout out my number one Gaspers. This week, I'm shouting out Letitia. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. And you're the best. And happy Pride. Okay, first, let's talk about Taylor buying back her masters and this announcement, right? So obviously, this was unexpected. I think that there were some rumblings about it. In the business world, I didn't know about it. And honestly, I didn't even know that this was really like a possibility in the short term. I thought this was something that would happen a few decades from now. And that's because it was so fucking expensive. Okay. She bought her masters and all of her work from Shamrock Capital for $360 million. That's an insane amount of money and almost half of her entire net worth. I do think that I think she's a billionaire now, but remember, that's not in like cash, right? So she really did have to work the Eras Tour and make money in order to buy her work back. And I know a lot of us, including me, have talked about how like, okay, all these things are so expensive. The merch is so expensive. This is just a cash grab. It kind of makes sense now why she needed to do that. And I'm so happy that she did. And we really kind of like paid for her to get her masters back. This is something that she's been wanting to do. And obviously after her masters were sold to Scooter Braun, that was like, you know, a stab in the heart. Is that a saying? But she's never owned her work. Her entire life, she hasn't owned her work. And most artists don't. So like, this is really setting a precedent and so inspiring and so full circle for her. Hopefully bringing her some closure of a lot of her trauma that she's had. I just like can't imagine how she's feeling. And it's just insane. She bought her work from Shamrock Capital that bought her masters from Scooter Braun, right? Scooter Braun apparently sold them to Shamrock Capital for about the amount that Taylor bought them. So I have a theory that Taylor has been working up to this deal for a long time. I mean, it's been a few years, but also probably needed to give Shamrock Capital a little bit of good PR in this situation so that she didn't have to like pay for more, because in Shamrock Capital's mind, you know, they need to make money off of this. So if they're not selling it for more than they originally got it, what's the point? So I do think that there was some PR involved, because literally in the letter she writes like, oh, I should put a shamrock like on my forehead as my first tattoo, which obviously is a joke, but I do think they were like, listen, tout us a little bit in this letter, which kind of makes sense. But this is literally all she's ever wanted. She wanted to have control over her work. She wanted to own her masters. And with owning her masters, she owns all of her previous albums. And when she released this, I mean, first of all, I was like gagged, but also the pictures that she posted of her holding her albums, it really is so full circle. Because I think sometimes, like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I forget that she was the Taylor Swift of like Fearless and the Taylor Swift of like Speak Now. Like, obviously we know she's that Taylor Swift, but she's had so many lives that to see her holding the original versions and not the Taylor's versions was like so emotional. And like, I forgot that she knew about them, you know? So this is just so important for her, so good for her. And we will get into in a little bit how these numbers make almost too much sense about the timing of her buying back her masters. What's also so important about all of this is that now we can really listen to her original versions and not have to feel guilty about it. Now we don't have to convince ourselves that Blank Space sounds better in Taylor's version. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Sometimes they're not as good. And that's why she wanted to buy them back, because like they're nostalgic. They're original versions. Like, it's fair to like want to listen to those. And now we have those. Oh, thank God. Literally, thank God. And now she probably has a little bit less trauma, which I think is necessary in order for her to be herself. And this is so important, like not just in the idea of her coming out, but also for her just being like more than her corporate brand and being like her own person. She says in her letter on the website, all of the music I've ever made now belongs to me, and all of my music videos and all the concert films, the album art and photography, the unreleased songs, the memories, the magic, the madness, every single era, my entire life's work. To say this is my greatest dream come true is actually being pretty reserved about it. It's fucking crazy. It's so exciting for her. I remember when it was announced that Scooter Braun bought her masters, and when she released that letter, I was just like, and it's just crazy to think like that there was a time where she thought this would never happen, and then to have it happen, it's just insane. So very full circle on everything. Hopefully some closure for her and her trauma. Unfortunately, all this good news of like, okay, she owns her masters back means what's the point of releasing Taylor's version if now the original versions are actually her versions? That's why she is not releasing Reputation TV. And she literally said it in the letter. Now that she owns it, she doesn't need to release it. My question is, then why the fuck is she releasing Debut TV? She said, I've recorded all of Debut TV, but then she literally said she only recorded less than a quarter of Reputation, which is insane because we all thought, or at least I thought, that this had been recorded like at least a year ago. Just insane that like we've all been like catching all of these Reputation Easter eggs. Like, have they even been real? Are we delirious? I think both us and Taylor Swift are insane. But my thing is like, what if she's lying? Why would she re-release every single album that she didn't own except for one? And that one is Reputation. It just seems eerie, and I feel like there's like a larger plan to it. And again, this is me being delusional. I think she's not telling us the whole truth. So she did say she would release the vault tracks if we want them. And they're definitely going to be fucking crazy. And I don't know. I hope she creates like another era for Reputation, because this is what we've been pining for. And I don't know, maybe this is just her like emphasizing Reputation's importance. At least she knows how good Reputation is, because remember in the Miss Americana documentary when she found out that Reputation wasn't nominated for anything at the Grammys or anything major, and she was like, I just have to release a better album. Now she knows, because she said in the letter, and I'll read from the letter in a second, that Reputation really is that girl, which is so important that she knows how good it is, because we know how good it is. And everyone that slept in Reputation, I literally remember when it came out and I was in college and it was like such an important time in my life. And there were a lot of people on the internet that were like, this is really not that good. It all sounds the same. What is she doing? It's boring, whatever. Reputation was literally ahead of the curve. And I also think because she said that she will release the vault tracks, what if the vault tracks are actually the Karma bonus tracks and she ends up releasing Karma? Pin in that. Okay, let's read from the letter. Just the Reputation part, because this letter is very long. She goes, I know. What about Rep TV? Gagged. And this just makes me feel like she's laughing at us all the time, every time we make theories. Like, it's so wild that she is on the internet too. So she says, full transparency, I haven't even re-recorded a quarter of it. Fucking crazy. The Reputation album was so specific to that time in my life. Yes. And I kept hitting a stopping point when I tried to remake it. Why? Because the Karlie Kloss trauma? All that defiance, that longing to be understood while feeling purposely misunderstood, that desperate hope, that shame-born snarl and mischief. This part is so queer. Shame-born snarl and mischief. And this is why when we talk about gay Taylor Swift songs, Reputation is really at the forefront, because Reputation is not just about her reputation ruined by the whole Kanye situation, but it's also about her exploring this new love, this queer love with Karlie Kloss, probably, in a time where her reputation is already ruined. So why not ruin it some more? And she's also exploring like how much she wants to push ruining her straight reputation for a woman. That's how I interpret it, obviously. But just like her saying this in this paragraph, shame-born snarl and mischief is just, it's queer, babes. Then she goes, to be perfectly honest, it's the one album in those first 6 that I thought couldn't be improved. I mean, real. I don't necessarily think it would have been improved by Taylor's version, but it's like we all just kind of wanted to re-experience it. So hopefully we really get that moment, because I think I'm really grieving that. I gotta be completely honest. And I'm going through that grief right now. She says, not the music, not the photos or videos, so I kept putting it off. There will be a time, if you're into the idea, like, yeah, we are, for the unreleased vault tracks from that album to hatch. Interesting. It's just interesting how she's like, they will be hatching. Like, in what format? I think they're going to be attached to something like Karma. She goes, I've already completely re-recorded my entire debut album and I really love how it sounds now. Those two albums can still have their moments to reemerge when the time is right. If that would be something you guys would be excited about. Like, well, duh. But my question is like, yes, okay, you like the way the debut sounds, but it's like, it's just so crazy that Reputation won't be released, but Debut will be. It feels like there's something there, right? But if it happens, it won't be from a place of sadness and longing for what I wish I could have. It will just be a celebration now. I think this has so many meanings. I think this is not just talking about like, okay, she owns the album now, but it's also like sadness and longing of going through this hard experience of being canceled, but then also like going through this queer relationship that's maybe threatening your reputation. Now she's on the other side of this and has clarity. And time, doesn't it give some perspective, babes? So that's what she said in the letter. And I guess this all leaves us very confused and questioning what's real or not and like losing our faith. And my question is, what about all these Easter eggs and were they even real? Do I have an answer to this? No. But here's some of my theories. With the AMAs and the AMAs spelled out on her website, maybe this was just a coincidence. I don't like saying things are coincidences because honestly, I don't think a lot of them are. Or did she have to abandon her potential plan to like announce something at the AMAs or even just show up at the AMAs? I don't know. Maybe she was going to announce her masters or something at the, I don't know. Did she have to abandon this plan after other celebrities dipped and the whole Trumpy thing of it all? Because I don't believe that she had been planning 3 years in advance everything to lead up to the AMAs just for her to expose the AMAs, because she liked the AMAs a few years ago. And no offense, Taylor Swift doesn't really like avoid things based on Trump stuff. I mean, she hangs out with the Mahomeses. So I don't really think that that had like a personal impact for her. I think it was like a cross celebrity thing where they all were like, okay, we're not going to go to the AMAs because of the Trump stuff. And also I think it's because they weren't going to give her an award, or maybe they didn't give her an award because she didn't show up. I don't know. I think that whole thing was a shit show, but I don't think there was like a master plan involved with the AMAs. But with all this 26 and 13 stuff, it could still actually match up if it's not May and if it's actually June 26. The 26 and the 13 could actually be June 26 and June 13th. June 13th is a Friday and is Friday the 13th, and we know how much she likes 13th and witchy stuff. Plus, the 26th is when she released Me back in 2019. Let's explore this theory later. But I think with all these Reputation Easter eggs that she had been lining up for the last few years, I think she did have an order in place. And maybe she was going to release Reputation and she was including Reputation Easter eggs. But like then she bought back her masters. So I think sometimes she changes her mind on stuff. But it's hard to know like what her grand plans are and which ones will fall through and which ones won't. Okay, let's talk about the Sparkling Summer theory. And I have a theory that she's going to redo her Sparkling Summer and that this will be her real Sparkling Summer. Okay, let's get into it. She talks about Sparkling Summer in The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived in TTPD. Now, a lot of people talk about Maddie Healy when they hear this song. I think this song is way bigger than Maddie Healy, and it's actually about Scooter Braun or about Scott Borchetta, right? She says, rusting my sparkling summer. And I think that Sparkling Summer, which a lot of other people think, this is not my idea of what a sparkling summer is, but was during the Lover era, right? And that was during Pride. That was summer 2019 when she was like releasing Lover and she released Me. And that was the time that she found out that her masters were being sold to Scooter Braun. That makes sense why that would rust her sparkling summer. This is also the theory that this was a failed coming out and that she was going to come out this summer, but didn't, because she was too sad over this like bombshell of news over her work, which makes sense. So this sparkling summer that was supposed to be happening was Lover era 2019, right? It has now been 6 years since the OG sparkling summer of the Lover era. It's also very interesting that Reputation was the 6th album, and it's been 6 years since this happened. That's why I thought it would have been interesting for her to release, and iconic for her to release Reputation 6 years after this all happened, and especially after buying your masters back. Oh, I don't know. And maybe she'll have that moment with the vault tracks. And again, maybe she's lying. Maybe she will release Reputation. Wouldn't that be fucking crazy? She's lied to us before. She lies to us all the time. She says it. She even tells us how she lies. I can show you lies. So again, Lover Era was her second attempt at coming out, and Karma was theorized to be the first time that she tried to come out. But that again was kind of squashed because that was right before Reputation, and that's when she was canceled. And that's also the album that was theorized to be like the Karlie Kloss album, when she had like bleached hair, and it was at the peak of their friendship, like after their Vogue photo shoot and Big Sur moment. Okay, so that's Karma, and again, that was never able to be released, if that theory is true and Karma's real, which I do believe it is. That would have been her first attempt. Lover and the Rusting of the Sparkling Summer is the second. Perhaps releasing Karma in its true form during the redo of the Sparkling Summer would be the third. Third time's the charm. Also, Exile ends in countdown from 3. 3, 2, 1. There's a lot of threes. Okay, so this is the craziest part that someone told me in the comments of one of my TikTok videos. There was 2,190 days between June 1st, start of Pride Month 2019, and May 30th, 2025, which is when she announced buying her masters. That's the beginning of Pride Month of 2019 during the Lover Era, the OG Sparkling Summer, and the day she announced buying back her masters, which is the original thing that rusted the Sparkling Summer. Is that a fucking coincidence? I don't know. Okay, so if that means, and if you guys don't know the reference, 2,190 Days of Our Love Blackout is from the song Glitch. The question is the glitch over? Is the glitch the same thing as exile? And is she finally out of exile because she's home now and she bought back all of her work and she owns the castle? There's so much here, like so much imagery. There's so many metaphors. There's so much here, right? It's also crazy when we look at the song Glitch, because the line is, it's been 2,190 days of our love blackout. Love blackout, could be like, okay, romantic situationship, but also the blackout of Lover, the rusting of the Sparkling Summer, the love blackout. Lover Era is like rainbow, pretty happiness, and then all of a sudden it's been a blackout, right? And then Folklore and Evermore came after that because she's really fucking depressed. Like, it does make sense that like the glitch was in between the love blackout, the ruining of her Sparkling Summer, and the buying of her masters, and then coming back to who she was and regaining all of her work and then being able to be who she is. And it kind of makes sense, this tie between Scooter Braun and the buying of her masters and like losing her art, and then also her queerness. And it just so happens that these two major events kind of happened at the same time of her releasing Me and releasing Lover, and then also her enemy buying her work. It's wild, okay? So that's the theory, that the glitch is over and the love blackout is done, right? We can resume with the rainbow and she can be who she is always meant to be. And she can redo her Sparkling Summer now because it's June 2025, 6 years later. Again, Exile ends in 3, 2, 1. This will be now, if this happens, her third attempt at coming out. And remember at TTPD when there was an error message on her website and it said error 321? There's too much going on with this exile, with the 321 stuff, the glitch. I think it's all kind of the same message, right? Also, we can think about like, why would she be able to come out now? Why would it be easier for her to come out now after she's bought her masters, right? Well, she said in the letter that she used her Eras Tour money. I mean, she didn't really directly say this, but the success of the Eras Tour gave her enough money to buy back her masters, right? If she had come out before or during the tour, we know that she would lose fans, aka money. I mean, think about what was said in the documentary of Miss Americana. Even just talking about politics, that someone on her team was like, what if I told you you could cut your fans in half? Which she eventually did, come out as a Democrat. But think about what they would say if she was like, I want to come out. They would be like, you're going to split your fans in another half. Okay, that is cutting the amount of money she can get in order to buy back her masters. It makes sense why she didn't want to dilute the value of her music, because there's a lot of homophobic people around the world that would stop, listening to her. They would probably burn her CDs if she came out as gay, okay? People can disagree with that, but it's the truth. So now that she owns them, she doesn't have to constantly, try to be making the best corporate and business decisions in order to make money in order to buy her master's, because she doesn't need to do that anymore. Now she can just settle into herself and not worry about like performing as this corporate brand to be the most lucrative version of herself. So it does kind of make sense why it would be a better time now to come out for her. And maybe she was waiting for this, right? And also when she was saying that in the letter, like dangling this carrot in front of her, I feel like that's the masters also doing this thing that she's always wanted, which is to come out and be herself. She says, all this time I was this close reaching out for it, only for it to fall through. I almost stopped thinking it could ever happen. After 20 years of having the carrot dangled and then yanked away. She says, all I've ever wanted. Also, this reminds me of Daddy, I Love Him, when she says, they slammed the door on my whole world, the one thing I wanted. And that whole song is so fucking queer. So anyways, I think these two things are tied, right? Of her trying to get her master's back and coming out. And it makes sense because also the trauma of it is tied at the same time. Of her losing her sparkling summer by having her master's being sold and then also losing the ability to come out. I think there's also something here with like maybe being able to release the songs that she's always wanted to that were queer. And she says in the letter that now she owns these unreleased songs. Perhaps she didn't have the ability to release what she wanted to because she didn't have ownership of it, right? And now she does. So are these unreleased songs that she writes in the letter, are these her gayest songs? Is this karma? So I guess the question is, this Pride Month, is she going to try to do a redo of her sparkling summer? Will this be her third attempt to come out finally on her own terms and the way that she wants? And I don't know, the 1326 thing on the cake from the I Bet You Think About Me music video, she has on the cake 13 and 26. And we've never seen that clue and that Easter egg mean something. And I think there is still something with this 26 and this 13. And it would kind of make more sense that it would be on June. Because also everything comes back to me and everything comes back to Lover. And when did she release Me? And she posted Me out now? Oh, on June 26, 2019, on International Lesbian Visibility Day. And this was during Pride Week of New York City, when she was rumored to have planned to wear the Christian Siriano pride dress that originally had meshing for a white person that was repurposed for Billy Porter, who does not have white skin. So this was for a white celebrity that was planning on doing something and wearing this dress during New York City Pride in 2019, right around the time that Taylor Swift is releasing Lover. And then this huge thing happens. She has her master's sold and the dress needs to be used for someone else, Billy Porter. It tracks too much. It would be so fucking iconic if she ended up wearing that original dress. Can you imagine? This year, people are so annoying me in this apartment complex. Like I can feel people like going in and outside their doors and I feel like they're like listening to me. It's like, mind your business. I'm talking about Taylor Swift being gay here. So I don't know. I think that there's like a lot going for this theory that she could redo her sparkling summer and release something on the 13th or the 26th. The 13th a Friday and then again, the 26th, it just like, where else are we going to see the 26th? I do think she's going to release something soon and that she's recorded something because she is amping up her appearances. She came out with this letter and like usually when she's vocal about something, she like continues the momentum. So let's repurpose our Easter eggs for May 26th and push them to June 26th because it's so important to clown, you guys. Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't clown again. I can't clown again. Why not? It keeps our hope up. It's important for the soul. Stay delusional. So what does that mean? Like, what would she release then? I don't know, maybe TS12. I would argue karma. I am obviously a karma truther. I really fully believe in it. I do feel like I'm one of the only people like pushing for it right now, but a lot of people, even like straight Swifties, believe that TS12 is coming soon, at least in the next few months. She's not going to miss a summer or fall to release something. Okay. And if she does, we need to be worried about her because mama loves to work. So I do think something's coming soon and it's not Reputation. And I just feel like it would be too easy for her to do debut right now. I don't know. I'm hoping for something like a little bit of a mix up, you know, like when we want Reputation, you don't want to settle for debut. So sorry. I love debut, but it's not the same energy, right? It is a peaceful, chill album. We want something with a punch. And what's a punch? Karma. Again, this is what I want, and this is also what I theorize. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't happen, though. So the theory is that the Reputation vault tracks that Taylor said in the letter that she would release, and Reputation would have its moment, the theory is that those ones would be the bonus tracks of Karma, and that she would end up releasing Karma because maybe now she has ownership of it after this deal, and that she would release it, would love if it was June, Pride Month. And it fell into that theory that I was just talking about, the 1326 and the Sparkling Summer, whatever. But it kind of makes sense. Like, why would you release Reputation vault tracks on its own randomly? It's paired with Karma because Karma was supposed to come before Reputation. It just makes sense. Also, to release Karma on the date, the 6-year anniversary of Scooter Braun buying Your Masters, to release Karma, the Lost album, would be fucking iconic. So let's talk about the Meet Me at Midnight theory. I talked about Karma and this theory in a whole separate episode, but this is going to be obviously condensed. But here's the theory, right? That it's the 3-2-1 exiles over situation and meet me at midnight. When she says meet me at midnight in the Midnight's era, what does it mean? Meet me, the real her. And it's also a reference back to me during the Lover era. Remember when she released Me that week, International Lesbian Visibility Day, but also the time that Scooter Braun bought her masters and that she wasn't able to come out. So it kind of makes sense that she was like, okay, I need a new plan and I want to plan something. Can I plan something 3 years in advance? She said that 3 years ago. Okay. That she would plan for something, a new way to come out, third time's the charm, right? And that since Midnight's, which was 3 years ago, she's been conjuring up this new plan to come out. This is the theory, right? And that we're counting down towards midnight. And that midnight starts the 3. And also it kind of makes sense because during the Midnight's era, she released the Bejeweled music video with the clock that says XL ends in 3-2-1. So since Midnight's, we're counting down 3-2-1 in years and also in albums. We weren't able to meet her during the Me Lover era because her Sparkling Summer was rusted. So this is a redo. Okay, so the countdown is 3-2-1 to Midnight. So this is the theory that Midnight's is the 10th album, right? And Midnight's had 3 a.m. tracks. She called it Midnight's 3 a.m. edition. Then we had TTPD, which was the 11th album, okay? That album had 2 a.m. bonus tracks. Isn't that interesting? So we're seeing a pattern, 3-2-1, okay? Then the theory is that Karma, which would be the 12th album, TS12, would have 1 a.m. tracks. What if those 1 a.m. tracks were the Reputation vault songs, which would make so much sense because they would be paired together. They're kind of like sister albums. And then TS13, which would be her real, like, true self album, which kind of makes sense. It's her 13th album. TS13th would have 12 a.m. release, and that's just the final release and midnight. So go 3-2-1 midnight. And that the 13th album would just have that midnight release, which is when she releases all of her albums. And that's when we would meet the real her, meet me at midnight. I love this theory and I think it makes so much sense. And I feel like it's a long game and she loves a long game. And if her next album, if TS12 comes out soon and it has 1 a.m. tracks, like, we are absolutely correct. And it's just like, why would she do 3 a.m. tracks, 2 a.m. tracks? It just seems like she's counting down, 3-2-1 exile ends. It just all makes so much sense. Plus, in the letter on her website, when she says this in the first paragraph, there's 12 eyes in that letter. And I think that a lot of this letter is honestly her being authentically herself and just being excited about the moment. But I do think that that 12 is intentional. We've been seeing a lot of 12s. And I also do think that the aesthetic of Karma, or perhaps TS12, is like orange, reddish, purple. It's giving the lesbian flag. But I don't know if this would be like her true coming out album, but I think it would be really gay and like really leading us towards that realization. But there would still be probably a lot of fans that would be like not getting it, you know? Picture like an entire album of like maroons. That's what I envision for Karma. So what do you guys think? Is TS12 karma? Are we going to see a TS12 soon? Do we think that Rep is ever going to be released? Are we going to get the Vault song soon? I really hope she doesn't just send us debut and then head off for the summer. I feel like, I don't know, there's just so much going on in my head around this, and I feel like so hopeful about like her being able to release music that she feels like good about, and her like making decisions for herself and not just for the corporation Taylor Swift. So all of this news, you know, most of it is good. The reputation part is bad. I'm so sorry, everyone. I feel the same way. But the benefit is that it is Pride Month. And then I do think that we're going to get something good really soon. I just feel it. I don't know. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. There's a lot of different theories here floating around. And I don't know. Just a lot going on. I'm really hoping that we hear from her on the 13th of June. I feel like that's when she would announce that something's happening. All right, that's it for me this week. Reminder to subscribe to my Patreon for my bonus Pride series. That's going to be out in the next day or so. The first one will be. And then also subscribe to my Patreon so you can enter my Pride giveaway and you can have a chance to win a free piece of Pride merch. And I'm telling you guys, the odds will be high that you will win. Have an amazing start to your Pride Month. Be gay, do some crimes, do whatever the hell you want to do. It's your month. It's the best month of the year. Cherish it. And I love you guys so much. I'll see you soon.